All right, welcome everybody to the Canadian Association of Singapore's webinar event here, brought to you here by Canadian Association in partnership with the Global Mortgage Group as well too. So my name is Grant Bosnick. I'm the second vice president of Canadian Association of Singapore. So it's my honor to be here hosting this session with the Global Mortgage Group to lead us through a great webinar on securing mortgages across US, UK, Canada, France, and Australia as a foreign national or expat living overseas. So we've got two great speakers with us, the co-founders of Global Mortgage Group. We've got Donald Clipp and Robert Chadwick with us. Donald's got over 25 years financial service experience, founding one of Hong Kong's earliest hedge funds, managing macro equity hedge funds with Asia's largest family office, and managing global equity sales team for the second largest bank in the world, as well as being an angel investor himself as well too. And we've got Robert Chadwick with us as well too, again with over 25 years of financial service and mortgage experience, founding and CEO of one of Hawaii's earliest and largest real estate publications, which after 13 years was sold to the nation's largest publisher. Managed wholesale lending divisions for Fremont Bank, dealing directly with regional and national banks and brokers, managing wholesale lending division of Morgan Stanley, Saxton's Capital, managing a retail lending team looking to purchase or refinance real estate, both residential and commercial. So over 50 years combined experience with us. So let's give it up here for Donald Clipp and Robert Chadwick. Thank you very much.
Yay, great job. Thank you, Grant, for the kind introduction. That was great. So first off, hello and good evening to everybody. Thanks for spending time with us. What must be dinner time for all of you. So we'll try to make this as worthwhile as we can. First off, I'd like to thank the Canadian Chamber of Commerce for having us, and specifically Grant, who spearheaded this event for us. We've been a contributor to the Maple Tree newsletter for some time, and I'm excited now to share more about Global Mortgage Group with all of you tonight directly. Over the next 10 to 20 minutes or so, we'll introduce myself, the co-founder of Global Mortgage Group, and how we help our clients around the world with their real estate financing needs. Then I'll introduce my business partner and co-founder, Robert Chadwick, CEO of our newly formed subsidiary, America Mortgages, the world's only US mortgage specialist specifically focusing on foreign nationals and US citizens living overseas. GMG was formed 4 years ago to address the problem of securing an overseas mortgage where you don't live or hold a passport, or otherwise known as a non-resident mortgage. Regardless of the country, the experience is stressful, difficult, and time-consuming, which I know many of you have experienced, and we fix this. Now, our core business is still U.S. mortgages, where we are the global leader, and what we do, and I'll let Robert dig in and unpackage, what we offer in the U.S. and why we're capitalizing strength on strength with our new America Mortgages brand. Now, over the years, to match demand from our clients, because of the need to diversify their investment holdings and interesting real estate opportunities overseas, we now offer mortgages in the UK, Canada, France, and Australia, and this is for foreign nationals and overseas expats, like Canadian expats and or Canadian or foreign nationals looking to buy Canadian property, for example. Elsewhere as well, we offer high net worth real estate solutions, which are typically short-term bridge financing for liquidity reasons, or sort of bigger commercial development financings. Everything we do and offer is exactly the same, or oftentimes better than you would find in the countries themselves, because we've taken care of some of the pain points, such as time zone. We understand our clients because we're in your time zone, and we understand the cultural nuances of each country. We know exactly your needs and exactly what you're able to qualify. So the experience between you and the lender is much smoother. And actually, more oftentimes than not, we're able to find programs that are better than what you would find at your bank back home, because we have more options. The bank that you would find back home in Canada, the UK, Australia, France, they would only show you their own program. So that's pretty straightforward. You know, you can think of us as sort of an Amazon of global mortgages. Now, I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about individual programs, but I think it's better to talk about individual cases so the audience can connect better. So the first one, I'll talk about Canada because, you know, that's probably of interest to everybody. And again, we offer this for foreign nationals or US overseas expats. So one of our clients in Hong Kong went to school in Canada, but had always planned to retire in Whistler. So do I. So the client was referred to by his real estate agent in Whistler, who we had worked with, and she liked the fact that, you know, we were able to kind of be in the time zone, hold the client's hand. A lot of the process is new, the terminology is new. Nonetheless, we were able to secure a loan for a property worth 2.4 million Canadian dollars. The loan amount was 1.4 million, so they're about 60-ish loan to value. The rate was 2.25% for 25 years, and that's for a sort of a summer/investment home in Whistler. The next is the UK. Obviously, the UK is super hot right now, especially in Hong Kong and Singapore. But who are looking for investment opportunities, playing on kind of where the currency is trading. But at the end of the day, the UK, similar to the US, has a lot of good schools, and that generates a lot of demand from all over the world. Our client was a sort of an executive in Hong Kong, and the son was just recently accepted to Cambridge. Saw an ad that came through through his sort of his online ecosystem, and he contacted us, and we were able to secure him a mortgage for a modest £950,000 a condo near the son's university, which he's renting out. But when he goes to the UK to visit, he would stay in. That was it was a 25-year loan and 1.79 over the Bank of England rate. So that's obviously very appealing. And all of the two clients that I just mentioned were obviously, head over heels over what we could offer, and obviously, we made his life a lot easier. The next was one of our clients, actually in Australia. He was a businessman and had been taking his family to France, specifically the south of France, for 2 summers. Similar to me, I've taken my family to Whistler for the past 2 summers, and you fall in love with the place, and you think, well, maybe we should buy a place. So this is what our client did. His private banker contacted us, whom we had worked with, and we were able to secure him a loan on a 4.5 million euro villa for a loan amount of 2.7 million at a little over 60% loan to value. The rate is incredibly low at 1.3% for 20 years. And that's for a villa in south of France. And I guess last but not least is Australia. Australia, in terms of international mortgages, UK and Australia are most active. This client was living in Singapore, was working for a marketing company, and wanted to diversify his investment portfolio. In Australia, he saw growth, and he saw really good value in north of London in an area called Chadwick. I think it turns out that Australia, gentrifies really well, and people who couldn't afford, who are getting squeezed out because of the cost of living in Sydney, start to move outbound, and this location was getting a lot of interest, I guess, similar to Austin and Dallas in the U.S. So the home was 790,000 Aussie dollars. We were able to secure him a loan for 470,000 Aussie dollars for about 65% loan to value, and it was 4.8% for 30 years. Now, we offer similar loans for expats in all of these countries, but for foreign nationals, this is all very new. They don't know the terminology, the process, they're uncertain. A lot of the onshore banks are uncomfortable dealing with foreign nationals, not because they can't, because they don't know how to, kind of modify some of the underwriting criteria for clients overseas. And, that's where we come in. We kind of bridge the information gap between what our borrowers have and can qualify for with the needs of the lender. So with that, if you have any questions, we will open up the Q&A later, and you can contact us directly. But for further, would like to introduce all of you to Robert Chadwick, my business partner and the CEO of our newly formed subsidiary, America Mortgages, and he'll go into everything you need to know about U.S. mortgages overseas.
Thank you, Donald. And Grant, thank you. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce of Canada and all the people that are joining us. My name is Robert Chadwick. I'm one of the co-founders of Global Mortgage Group and America Mortgages. We started America Mortgages to be very, very specific for our target market. We don't deal with anybody that's currently living in the US. Everybody is living somewhere abroad, whether it's Singapore, Canada, globally. And for that reason, it's very, very specific. You do not need US credit. You can use your Singapore credit. You can use your Canadian credit in lieu of having US credit. In general, we do everything from second homes to income producing properties to commercial lending, all the way up to portfolio. So we try to make it as easy as if you were to walk into a bank into the US. The loan programs themselves, they're very, very easy to qualify for. As I stated, there's no US credit required. There's credit required in some country, but US is not necessary. On a purchase loan in all 50 states, we can get up to 75% loan to value. If you currently own US real estate and you want to release equity, maybe to purchase another property, to reduce your rate, or even to use funds for other investments, we can get up to 70% loan to value. So it's very, very aggressive. We have two ways to qualify. You can qualify off of an income letter, and it actually makes it quite simple. Because we're doing loans across the world, everybody is providing a very uniformed submission process. So if you're employed, it's from your employer. If you're self-employed, it's from your accountant. And it just states your last 2 years' income, current year to date. Very simple. All of our loans are 30-year fixed loans, regardless of the borrower's age. So whether you're 20 or you're 70, you can still amortize a loan over 30 years, which definitely helps if you're purchasing a property for an investment and you're looking for yield. We have a very, very aggressive program for real estate investors, which is a 10-year interest only. Fantastic program if you are looking to maximize the cash flow, or if your intention is to sell the property after a few years and you want to be able to show a positive yield. How this works is the first 10 years of the loan is interest-only portion. So basically, you are servicing only the interest. After the 10-year period, that loan converts to a 30-year fixed, and then you're servicing principal and interest. So it's a total 40-year tenure. What makes America Mortgage, the advantages of using America Mortgages over, say, a local bank or even brokers? 100% of our clients are people like yourself. It's people that are living abroad, people that are earning foreign income, maybe people that don't have US credit or thin credit, etc. All of these issues, they're not issues with us. As opposed to, a Canadian bank or a US broker or even a US bank, probably of every 500 clients they have, one is a non-resident. So because this is our expertise and this is all we do, we make the process as transparent and as clear as possible. So I think in general, that covers what's available in the US. It's state agnostic, all 50 states. We can do a transaction in 30 to 45 days. So exactly as if you were looking to purchase a property and the bank was going to do it in the US. So very, very competitive, program-wise, rate-wise, and very specific for the type of market. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If anybody has anything regarding whether it's global loans to Donald, or if it's focused on the U.S., I'm happy to answer it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And let's hear some questions. All right.
It doesn't look like we have a lot of questions.
I've got a question for you
Sure.
then. I'll get it started. And again, everybody else, if you do have other questions, do type it down in the Q&A panel. Whatever you want to know, whether it's about real estate in Canada, about mortgages in Canada, or elsewhere across the world, whatever you want to know. We've got two experts here in the room with us here. So let's say, I mean, you mentioned Whistler. I mean, I'm a snowboarder. I'm quite interested. I mean, if I were to look at getting a property in Whistler or in Banff or something, what would I be looking at in terms of, you know, getting started, getting a down payment there, and what kind of you know, conditions might we get in terms of the mortgage there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, you know, mortgages tend to kind of work similar everywhere you go. They need to verify your income. They need to see proof that, you know, you are getting paid from the employer that you say. So there's two types of things. There's paperwork and there's documentation required for the actual home that you're buying. So there's you know, hazard insurance. You know, there's titling issues, that not issues, but titling information that you need to collect, which we help with. And then there's sort of the borrower information. You know, how much you make, what do you have in assets, you know, your income and credit references, and all of those things need some documentation. And that's really about it. I mean, you know, and everything else, you know, the lenders will look at the file and need some clarification, but that really operates the same in all the countries that I mentioned, maybe except for the US, because we have 150 lenders. Some are wholesale lenders, some are banks. So we have more options. You know, so for example, to your point, in the UK, if you wanted to buy, you know, your snowboarding cabin up over Alta Lake, you know, you're looking at something between, say, 700,000 Canadian dollars. We can give you 70% loan to value. So that's, say, you know, a little under 500,000 Canadian dollar loan. So you'd only have to put down, say, you know, 190, 200. That's a 25-year loan for a little over 2%. So, you know, because you're Canadian, the loan to value can go higher. So that's really good. Obviously, you know, you probably are aware of sort of the rental yields you can generate there. In the U.S., it really varies. You know, we have so many loan programs. I think in the U.S. we kind of tailor make kind of the program specifically to your needs. In most bank programs, you're sort of kind of, you fit in the box or not. So then, you know, so in the U.S. it really depends on the state, the type of home, but you're looking at 30-year fixed. Maybe in California, you know, 4% for 30, you know, between 4 and 5%, depending on the loan to value and the asset. But yeah, we make it, I think the key is that we make it easy for you. You know, these type of transactions are very emotional. It's a big ticket. Oftentimes it's the biggest thing anybody has ever made. So there's a level of, you know, whether you're HSBC, you're DBS, what we try to do is offer you things that you can't get from banks: constant transparency, speed. You know, our loan officers know you. You don't get bounced to call centers. We know exactly, you know, what time, what day, what 2 hours of the day you have some free time to answer questions and sign things. So it's a much better experience that our clients tell us.
So it looks like we have a few questions. what is the minimum property value? I'm assuming it's for the U.S. target. The minimum loan amount is 100,000 US, meaning that at the maximum loan to value, which is 75%, you need to be approximately in the $140,000 purchase range in order to qualify. Maximum, even though it wasn't asked, but the maximum depends on the state, but anywhere from 3 million on a conventional mortgage, and in certain states like New York or California, it's pretty much unlimited. Another question: how long does the loan process take? In general, we are between 30 and 45 days. You do not need to travel to the US to do the transaction. So there's multiple ways to close the loan. So you can, just as an example, if you're in Singapore, you can open up the loan application and do the closing documents without ever leaving Singapore. Okay.
Awesome. It looks at the next one. Actually, this is a really good question because it comes up quite a bit. If I'm self-employed, would I be able to qualify for any of GMG American Mortgage programs? Absolutely. So this is, again, I probably should have mentioned earlier, this is really an area where we excel. A lot of, not a lot, but all banks require to fit into their credit box. And if you're just slightly out of that box, they really can, they're unable to kind of bend their requirements for a lot of our borrowers. And just they're more entrepreneurs now. They're more people that aren't getting a salary every month. And we have worked with our banks and lenders around the world to overcome this by explaining and working together with the banks and the borrowers. So a lot of it is we drive the process with the banks. We work with them and say, listen, in Asia or throughout the world, we have these pool of borrowers, and they have this issue that doesn't meet your criteria. How do we overcome it? Once we finalize sort of the loan program terms, then we launch it in Asia. And some of our most popular programs are these sort of self-employed entrepreneur mortgage programs. Are we able to refinance our loan in Asia to structure our mortgage in Canada together? Actually, yes. It's not a back-to-back mortgage. It's not, you refinance out of HSBC, then move it to Toronto Dominion Bank. We have lenders that can help with various parts of this process to achieve the economic result, like you asked in the question. So that's definitely possible. And quite frankly, in this day and age where investors are looking for investment opportunities everywhere, it's not uncommon for an individual to have an income earning property in the US, an income property in the UK, an income property in Toronto. So this is, again, something I probably should have mentioned, is where we excel. We're a one-stop shop that once we get your financial information, we can go out and save you a ton of time to achieve, all of your, these kind of economic, interests.
Okay, what is the longest tenure? So if you're talking about the U.S., the longest tenure we have for a loan is 40 years. And that's what I was talking about specifically earlier, where it's a 10-year fixed interest only that converts into a 30-year principal and interest loan after the 10-year period.
Okay. Next question is, do we secure mortgage loans from only Canadian banks or from overseas as well, like locally in Singapore? So in Singapore, they don't lend to Canadian property. In fact, there are a few that would lend in the UK, some Japan, some Australia. It's really quite difficult to qualify. And in Singapore, they've really kind of clamped down and made it not as easy. I think if you're a private banking client, they'll go out of their way to sort of make you happy, whatever your needs are. In Canada, I would say they range from banks and or private lenders. I think everything we do at the residential level involves a lender in that country, whether that's a wholesale lender, a private lender, an investment fund, or a commercial bank or a retail bank. They typically are in that jurisdiction where the asset is based. Now, when we get out of the residential pool, whether it's commercial, whether that's bridge financing or development financing, we can get outside, overseas lenders to look at this, and that's pretty common for us. But at the residential level, it typically is lenders from where the asset is based.
I am a Canadian citizen and was wondering what the max loan to value I can get to purchase a property in the US. Very good question. 75% in all 50 states as a non-US passport holder. It doesn't require US credit. You can use your Canadian credit or wherever actually you're living and have established credit. If for some reason you have dual citizenship or a US passport or a Canadian passport, then we can actually get up to 80% on an investment property or second home. I think that
wraps it up.
Yes.
All right, we'll give it about another 1 more minute. If you've got any other questions, do type them down in the Q&A for us. We're going to be wrapping up very shortly, so if you do have any other questions you'd like to know, do quickly type them up in the Q&A, and if there is anything come up there, we'll get to those in a minute here. So in the meantime, let me first of all thank Donald Clipp and Robert Chadwick from the Global Mortgage Group for joining us here in the Canadian Association of Singapore's webinar on helping all of us out there to secure good mortgages out there. So thank you on behalf of the Canadian Association of Singapore. 30 seconds if any other questions are coming up. All right, so on behalf of the Canadian Association of Singapore, thank you very much to the Global Mortgage Group, Robert and Donald for joining us, and thank you for sharing all your knowledge and information. And if anyone listening, if you want to find out more, do contact them and let them know and help you out with your financial needs. So thank you, Robert and Donald, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you, Grant. Everybody have a good weekend. Have a good evening.